Good morning, this is your Math Sensei, Mr. Spensei, and this is STAAR Test 2024, and it's problems 31 to 42. So it says, what are the solutions to the equations 5x plus 3 squared equals 75? Okay, I see the squared. This tells me that this is a quadratic. And what I mean by that, it's either going to be shaped this way or it's going to be shaped that way. It's going to be a parabola. Okay. Now, I know that to put this into Desmos and get what I want, I need to make it equal to 0, which means I need to move the 75 over to the other side. So I end up with 5 parentheses x plus 3 squared minus 75 equals 0 because this was a plus 75. So I'm just going to subtract 75 from both sides. Okay. Once I have it like this, I can put this into Desmos and we're going to have to sit there and we're going to have to play with these answers and see which one gives us the right answers. All right, because unfortunately we have ugly numbers here, and um, Desmos works with decimals, and this is in fractions. So we're going to have to play with this just a little bit. But here we go. I'm going to go ahead and plug this in and see what happens. So my share screen. And we'll get rid of this. And we're going to put in 5 parentheses x plus 3, close parentheses, square it. Well, that should be a plus 3, not an equals. Plus 3 equals 75. Or minus 75. Not equals, minus 75. Okay, so they asked for the solutions. Solutions are these 2 points right here. That's where they cross the x-axis. So I'm going to go ahead and have those points labeled. So we end up with negative 6.87 comma 0, and we also end up with 0.872 comma 0. Okay, so now that I have that, it's like, well, gosh, what do I do? Well, I'm going to go to those answer choices and see what I can do with those. So the first answer choice was negative 3 divided by 5 and minus the square root of 5. And I get negative 2.836. Well, that's clearly not right. So we know it's not A. So now I'm going to plug in B. And I'm going to go negative 3/5, which I already have, minus square root of 3. And I get negative 2.3. That's clearly not right. So now it becomes negative 3 minus the square root of 3, and I get negative 4.7. Once again, not right. So now we're looking at negative 3 minus 15, the square root of 15. Hey, we get one of the answer choices. But what about the other one? Well, remember that sign said plus or minus, so let's change that to a plus and see if we get the other number. And sure enough, we do. So the answer to 31 is D. So we're going to stop that share and go, okay, because what we did is we plugged in negative 3 minus the square root of 15, and we got this. And then we also put in negative 3 plus the square root of 15, and we got that. So our answer choice to 31 is D. Number 32, a part of a quadratic function is graphed on the grid. What is the domain of the function shown? Well, you've got to know that domain is the x values. So I need to draw a line that's furthest to the left and furthest to the right. So my domain is -2 and 3 because that's where it hits the x values. Now, these are solids. So if it's solid, it gets a less than or equal to. So -2 less than or equal to x less than or equal to 3. All right. So all real numbers greater than or equal to -4. No. -1. No. -6. No. All real numbers greater than or equal to -2 and less than or equal to 3. Guess what? -2 and less than or equal to 3. That's what we said. Our answer choice here is D. Now, had they asked for the range, which they didn't, if they'd asked for the range starts at the bottom and ranges are y. Okay, ranges are y. In this case, it would be -4 less than or equal to y less than or equal to 5. But they didn't ask for that. They were looking for domain. So the answer choice to 32 is D. That's another question you got to get right. Number 33, which expression is equivalent to this? I'm going to say I don't stress this one. If you get it, great. If you don't worry about it. First off, we can do this first part's easy. What's 16 divided by 4? Oh, 16 divided by 4 is just 4, so I should end up with a 4 in the numerator. Well, guess what? That gets rid of this, and it gets rid of that. These are the only two that had 4s. Now, when it's a fraction, that means you're subtracting. So we have 4, and we always subtract the largest minus the smallest. So 9 minus 3 for the k's. And for the m's, 14 is bigger, so it's going to stay, and we're at 14 minus 7. So fractions you're going to subtract, so we end up with 4 k to the 6 m to the 7th. This is one I'm not going to worry about. You having to get right for this test. We will go over it more in the spring semester. So this 33 is B. Moving on. 34. For a quadratic function. Okay, whenever they say quadratic, please remember we're going to deal with something that's either shaped like this, a parabola like this, or shaped like this. And it says for a quadratic function h of -3/2 equals 0 and h of 5 equals 0, what is the value? What is a possible equation for h in factored form? Move the correct answer choices. Well, they're just saying, remember, h of this is just saying x equals -3/2. So they're saying x equals -3/2, and over here they're saying x equals 5. All right. To put it in factored form, we need to solve for x. All right. And what that means is we need to make it look like we need to set this up where these answer choices, if we set these answers to 0, they give us 5 and they give us 3/2. So I'm going to take this first one and I'm going to go, well, x plus 5 equals 0. If I solve for x, I get x equals -5. Well, I needed +5, so that one's wrong. Then I try, well, what's x minus 5 equals 0? Because I'm just setting that equal to 0. I add 5 to both sides, and I get x equals 5. Hey, guess what? That's one of the answers. So we know it's going to be x minus 5 because when we set it up and solved, we got x equals 5. So we're done with that part. Now we know this one's one of them. So now we need to try this one. And we need a -3/2. And we go, well, 2x minus 3, set it equal to 0, add 3 to both sides. And I have 2x equals 3, divide by 2, and I get x equals 3/2. But I needed -3/2. So this one's wrong. So then I go to this next one and I go, well, 2x plus 3 equals 0. Subtract 3. Again, all I'm doing is setting them equal to 0 and solving. So I have 2x equals negative 3. Divide by 2. X equals negative 3 halves. I needed negative 3 halves. So this means this is my correct answer. So we have the other one is 2x plus 3. Now, I want to show you a way you can kind of check this thing because this is not an easy problem. This is one that I'd like you to get right. Hopefully you will, but not critical. But watch what happens if I plug this into Desmos. I'm going to plug this into Desmos and see how it relates to that. Because this is the way you can check your answer. So I'm going to just take that, what we came up with, our answer, we came up with x minus 5, and we came up with 2x plus 3. And I get negative 1.5. Guess what? That's negative 3 halves. And I get 5, 0. So I basically, it's like, hey, it gave me my answer. All right, so I can check it to verify that I actually did do it right. A little bit of work on that one, but it's one I think you can get. Okay, if they have this problem, we need to get this problem right. A triangle has sides whose lengths and units are represented by polynomials as shown where x is a positive integer. Which expression represents perimeter? Well, what is perimeter? Perimeter is the distance around the outside. So I need to add all these ups. So we're going to have 3 halves x plus 5, 6. And then we're going to have to add plus 3x minus 1, 6 plus 2x plus 1/3. Now I lined them up like that so that all the x's lined up. So let's add up 3 halves. We're going to add up these numbers and then we're going to add up these numbers and see what happens. Okay. So I'm going to go to Desmos real quickly. And you can use the calculator to do this as well. And we're going to add up my x's first. So I had 3 halves, 3 over 2, oops, plus 3 plus 2. And I want my answer not as a decimal, so I'm going to turn it into a fraction. So 13 halves. So we know we have 13 halves of x, so I'm going to write that down. Come back to my screen real quickly. We added those up and we got 13 halves x. Well, if we did everything right, that should get rid of those two answers. Now we need to add up the 5, 6, then minus 1, 6, and a positive 1/3. So I'm going to go back up to Desmos and do that. And we're going to have 5, 6 plus, or not plus, minus, and then we're going to do plus 1/3. And we ended up getting 1 whole when we added that up. So I'm going to write that down. Plus 1. So the answer to 35 is C. Moving on. 36. The total cost Y for tickets to a concert includes a flat fee for processing and a cost per ticket. One customer purchased 4 tickets for a total of $160. Another customer purchased 8 tickets for a total cost of $300. Which linear equation represents the total cost in dollars per ticket? Well, how about this? What if we say we have tickets and we have cost? 4 tickets cost 160. 8 tickets cost 300. Well, I have a table. If I have a table, that tells me I probably should go to Desmos to see what happens. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go to drop that into Desmos and see what happens when we do that. So plus button, go to the table, and we have 4 and 160. And then we have 8 and 300. Once I have that, I'm going to push the domino button, and there's my equation. Y equals 35x plus 20. Stop my share. Y equals 35x plus 20. My answer choice is 36 is C. Moving on to 37. Which expression is a factor of this? Well, I see this and I know it's a quadratic. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this into Desmos and I'm going to look and then I'll put each of my answer choices, and I need to find the answer that hits at one of these points. Okay, so it has to going to either hit here or here. As long as it hits at one of those points, that's my answer. So let's move over to Desmos and we'll plug in the x squared first, then we'll plug in the answer choices. So here we go, sharing screen. This is one you have to get right. This is super important. So we're going to go x squared plus 7x minus 30. Okay, so there's my graph. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit so we can see a whole thing. And what we're looking for is we need to cross there. I'm going to label that point. And then, or we can cross here. It doesn't matter which one, but we have to hit one of those points, and we have to hit one of those points perfectly. All right. So now that I've done that, and labeled that, I'm going to go ahead and start putting in those factors. Well, the first factor was x plus 15. So I'm going to go ahead and graph that. So x plus 15. Guess what? Does not hit at one of those points. So it's not that one. So I'm going to change it to x minus 10. It also doesn't hit in the right spot. So it can't be B. So we've eliminated that. Then we have x plus 5. It doesn't hit in the right spot. So hopefully this last one will hit in the right spot. So we have x minus 3. And sure enough, it hit one of them in a perfect spot. So that right there is our answer. So the answer to 37 is D. So the one that hit x minus 3 when we had our graph looked something like this. X minus 3 hit right there. So our answer to 37 is D. Number 38. The graph of f of x equals x is transformed to create the equation this. Complete the statement to compare the graphs. So in this case, remember f of x is just x. So I'm going to plug in y equals x. And then over here, they made this really crazy. But this x, everywhere they have f of x, I'm going to plug in x. So this is 1/2. And now I'm plugging in this x. This x got plugged in right here, 1/2 x plus 3. So I'm going to plug these in and see how they changed, okay? So let's plug them into Desmos. I'm going to plug this first one in. It'll be one color, and then the other one will be the other color. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And the first thing I'm going to do is plug in the y equals x. Y equals x. So that was our original equation. So our original equation happens to be in purple. And then the next one, I'm going to plug in y equals 1/2 parenthesis x plus 3. Oops. And it looks like our new equation is in black. So when I look at it, the first one is the purple one is increasing faster, so it's steeper. But the question is the graph of G. Well, G is our black one. G is less steep. It's flatter. And the y-intercept, well, here was my original. That's my y-intercept of my original. My y-intercept of the new one is higher. Okay, so my y-intercept is greater. So this one had a greater, this one is a greater y-intercept. This had a y-intercept of 0 because this is y equals x plus 0. And this is y equals 1/2 x plus 3, and 3 is greater than 0. And 1/2, this is like having a 1. 1/2 is less than 1. So 1/2 is less steep than 1. Okay, number 39. Line N is shown on the coordinate grid. The table of ordered pairs represents some points on line P. Which system of equations represents the line N and line P? Okay, so this is not an easy question, but first off, what I would do is I'd go to Desmos and I'd plug these in, and I'm gonna have to move all these into um, I'm gonna have to move these all into y equals format. But first off, I'll plug these 2 points in, and then I'm gonna plug to get the equation. I'll write it down. Then I'm gonna plug this table in and write it down. And I'm gonna do those in 2 separate steps. So here we go. Share, plugging in the points. All right, so all I'm doing is I'm going to plug in the points to the initial line that they gave us. So I'm going to press the plus button, the table, and they initially gave us 0 and -2. And then they also gave us 1 and 1. I'm going to hit the domino button, and my equation is 3x minus 2. So I'm going to writing that down. Y equals 3x minus 2. That's my first equation. My next equation that I'm going to do is the other table. So I'm going to put one more table. And I'm going to put in -1, enter 0, enter, negative, enter 0, enter 1, enter 2. And then we have 6, enter, 4, enter, 2, enter, 0, enter. And I'm going to press the domino button. And I get a new equation. And then new equations, y equals -2x plus 4. And I'm going to write that down as well. So y equals -2x plus 4. Okay, now that I've done that, I need to rearrange these to see if they're getting in order. I'm going to work with this one first. So I'm going to move this 2x over. When I move this 2x over, it becomes y equals, it is a positive, but when it changes size, it changes sign. So y equals -2x plus 4. So that looks good. So anywhere I have a 2x plus y equals 4, we know that's good. Okay? So that takes care of line P. That means these two are not correct. Now we need to reorder this one. Well, this is 3x minus y equals 2. I move this over, and now I have -y equals -3x plus 2. But I can't have a negative sign, so I have to divide by -1. And I get y equals 3x minus 2. That means 39. The answer is A. Okay? All right, so the answer to that 39 is A. That's a tougher problem, but that's the way you would approach it. Okay, number 40. Which function is equivalent to this? This, first off, is going to be a parabola. It's a quadratic, and this is a give me problem. I'm going to plug this in, then I'm going to plug the answers to see which is exactly the same. Okay, takes a couple of minutes, but it's definitely an easy problem. You got to get this right every single time. Super important. We want lots of problems like this. These are give me problems. So we're just going to plug in 4 parenthesis x minus 3. We're going to square it plus 5. So there's my equation. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit so it's a little bit bigger. Maybe not that big. There we go. That'll work. And we'll start plugging in answer choices. The first answer choice, 16x squared minus 96x plus 149. Close, but it doesn't lie directly on top of it, so A is not correct. The next one is 4x squared plus 141. Gosh, that didn't even show up on the screen. Yeah, not that. Oh, I have 14x squared. Excuse me, that should be 4x squared. There, that should be a little bit better, but still not right. So now we have 4x squared minus 24x plus 41. Hey, I think we found it. Look, if I cover that up, the green one lies right on top of the blue one. So the answer choice to 40 is C. Next one, which graph represents the solution set? First off, first thing I need to notice, this has a line under it. And remember, those all get solid lines. If it's just this, it gets a dashed line. Well, we have solid lines, so that gets rid of B and D without doing any work. Now, check to see if this is positive. If this is positive, I won't have to flip my sign. So in this case, because the y is positive, I don't have to flip the sign. If the y is positive, you don't flip the sign. So this is greater than, which means I need, if I think of my person, a person has to be in the greater than area so that when a tree falls on him, because the tree's going to fall down this way, the guy has to be above it. Well, the shaded part is above it. The answer choice is A. On this one, if the tree falls down, he's less than. But this is the greater than sign. So our answer to 41 is A. Once again, you can get it down to 50% just by going, hey, this has a line under it, so get rid of the dash. Okay, number 42, important type of problem they're going to show up. A system of linear equations is shown. Which statement is correct? Well, what I want to do with this is I want to rearrange it so they're both in standard form. The first one already is, but I need to move this 3x over. When I do that, I'm going to have negative 3x plus 1y equals negative 5. Because all I did was take this 3x over and swap the sign. And then originally I have a 6x minus 2y equals 10. Okay? And actually, you know what? Let's not do it this way. Let's go ahead and put this top one. Let's plug this first one into slope-intercept form. This already is. We're going to put them in y equals mx plus b form. And I'm going to do the second one, and I'm going to do the 6x that way. So I have 6x minus 2y equals 10, which means I need to solve for y. I do that by subtracting 6x from both sides. And I have negative 2y equals negative 6x plus 10. I divide everything by negative 2. And I end up with y equals 3x minus 5. Wait a second. Those are exactly the same line. That means they're going to touch everywhere. Let's go ahead and graph those because this was the original. And now I also have this one, and they look to be the same. So I'm going to graph one, then I'm going to graph the other, and I want you to see what happens. Okay? So sharing screen. when I have a, here's the first line. The first line was y equals 3x minus 5. And then I'm going to graph the other one. Y equals 3x minus 5. And they notice they lie directly on top of each other, which means they touch everywhere. And if they're touching everywhere, they're touching infinite many solutions. So if they have the same slope, same y-intercept, same slope, same y-intercept, infinitely many solutions. Parallel lines, no solutions. Otherwise, you have one solution. But the answer to 42 is infinitely many because they touch everywhere. All right. Appreciate you watching. Look forward to seeing you on the next one. Thank you.